path of life isn't a random journey, but an intricate dance governed by laws rarely taught. From your very first breath, you've lived immersed in a structure far more precise than it appears. Every moment, every coincidence, every cycle that repeats doesn't happen by chance. Chance, according to the Kybalion, is but a name for law not recognized. This ancient text isn't just a book. It's a map, a code that reveals the true workings of reality. If this message has reached you, it's because something within you is ready to perceive the invisible architecture that holds all existence together. For more profound insights and to explore the depths of these universal laws, subscribe to Esoteric Philosophy and hit the bell so you don't miss any of these signals. Everything we perceive, love, fear, or chase originates in the mind. Not just our individual mind, but a much vaster consciousness that Hermeticists call the All. The first Hermetic principle, the principle of mentalism, plainly states, the All is mind, the universe is mental. This isn't poetic metaphor, but literal truth, implying that reality is the outer echo of an inner thought. The world isn't happening to you, but through you, as layers of vibration shaped by consciousness. Every tree, every encounter, every loss isn't separate from the mental field that projects it, and that field, whether you know it or not, is shaped by the frequency of your own thoughts. Most people are unaware of this truth. They believe life is fixed, something to be endured or enjoyed according to mysterious whims. They're taught that success requires effort, love arrives by luck, and pain is an unavoidable part of existence. But what if that wasn't true? What if every struggle, every repeated pattern, every frustration you call bad luck is actually the universe responding to the invisible frequency of your own mental field? This would mean nothing in your life, is disconnected from your inner state, and more importantly, you can change it. Your reality isn't a fact, it's a reflection. What you believe, what you assume, what you fear, aren't passive thoughts. They're blueprints that tell the field what to generate next. Imagine that when you dream, your mind creates entire worlds, people, places, stories, and it all feels real until you wake up. What if waking life worked the same way, just at a slower frequency? What if this world is a shared dream, a projection from a source so vast you can barely comprehend it? And what if your consciousness is a fragment of that source, meaning you are both within the dream and shaping it at the same time? The moment you see this, everything changes. You stop playing the victim, stop waiting for external signs, and begin to look inward for the origin of your experience. This is the first doorway, and one most people never walk through, because accepting that your thoughts create reality also means accepting responsibility for everything that's been happening around you. It's not comfortable or easy, but it's necessary. Until you take ownership of your inner world, the outer world will keep looping back the same lessons, louder and louder. How many times have we heard, "That was just bad luck," or "It must be fate," as if life were a chaotic roulette wheel spinning wildly beyond our control? We've been taught to accept randomness as normal, to dismiss strange alignments and harsh setbacks as accidents of a disordered universe. But what if nothing you've ever experienced was truly random? What if the coincidences, the near misses, the repeating cycles, what if every single one of them was precise, mathematical, governed by something deeper? The Kybalion tells you plainly, chance is but a name for law not recognized. In other words, what looks like luck is simply the effect of a cause you didn't see. Just because you don't understand how something happened doesn't mean it was arbitrary. It means you missed the initiating vibration. Life doesn't guess. It listens. And every moment you live is the echo of something previously set in motion, either by you or by the collective field you're entangled in. When something just happens, a job loss, a sudden breakup, an unexpected opportunity, you might chalk it up to randomness. But if you zoom in, there's always a thread, a thought, a tension, a belief system quietly vibrating in the background, shaping the next scene in your personal movie. It might be a fear you've been carrying, a lesson you've ignored, a frequency you've been stuck in without knowing it. The universe doesn't punish, it mirrors, and the mirror doesn't lie. It just reflects what's there, even if you've never consciously seen it. This is the power and the challenge of the law of cause and effect, another of the Hermetic laws. It says that nothing, absolutely nothing, happens without a cause, and no cause exists without producing an effect. Whether it's the words you speak, the emotions you suppress, the people you attract, or the things you avoid, every single act carries a vibration, and that vibration moves. It moves into the field, it organizes matter, it magnetizes people, it draws forward events that resonate with it, not because you deserve them, but because you're vibrating them. That's why life seems to repeat itself when you don't learn the underlying pattern. It's not because you're cursed. It's not karma in some moral sense. It's resonance. Until you shift the internal cause, the external effect will keep cycling back. Different names, same lesson, different places, same pattern. When you see this, you begin to ask different questions. You stop asking, "Why is this happening to me?" and start asking, "What am I vibrating that brought this in?" It's not about guilt. It's about responsibility, and responsibility is the price of power. Truth was never meant to be popular. It was meant to be protected. That's why ancient teachings like the Kybalion were never taught openly. They weren't shared in public squares or printed in mass-market books. They were whispered in temples, encoded in symbols, buried in metaphors, and passed from master to student when the student was finally ready, and most weren't, most still aren't. Because this kind of knowledge doesn't entertain the mind, it confronts it. It doesn't comfort your illusions, it dismantles them. And that kind of awakening, real awakening, isn't gentle. It's shattering. In ancient Egypt, knowledge wasn't seen as information, it was vibration. To teach meant to transmit frequency, not facts. Hermes Trismegistus, the figure at the root of Hermetic philosophy, wasn't just a man. He was a fusion of two worlds, Thoth, the Egyptian god of wisdom and writing, and Hermes, the Greek messenger of the gods. One represented cosmic memory, the other divine communication. Together they became the symbol of the bridge between mind and matter, between heaven and earth, between the seen and the unseen. But Hermes wasn't trying to be understood by everyone. He was trying to protect something sacred. He knew that truth, when handed to the unprepared, becomes distortion. It becomes weaponized. It gets twisted to serve the ego, to manipulate, to dominate. And so the teachings were hidden, not out of elitism, but out of necessity. Not everyone is ready to hold power without using it to control others. Not everyone is willing to dismantle their identity, to meet the truth as it is, not as they wish it to be. And maybe that's why the Kybalion doesn't scream for your attention. It doesn't market itself with promises or miracles. It waits quietly, patiently, like a mirror tucked in the corner of a forgotten room. You could walk past it 1,000 times and never see it. But one day something changes. One day you stop, you turn, you look, and you realize it's been waiting for you all along. The Hermetic laws aren't just lessons, they're thresholds. And once you cross them, your life stops working the way it used to. You can't unsee the mirror. You can't pretend your thoughts are powerless. You can't blame the outside world for what the inner world keeps creating. And if you've made it this far, if you're still here listening to this, it's not an accident, it's alignment. It means that something in you, some deeper part, has been asking quietly, persistently, and now, finally, it's being answered. Because here's the truth. This isn't a trend. It's not a spiritual aesthetic. It's a remembering, the return of something ancient and alive that's been buried beneath distraction, noise, and false narratives. You're not learning something new. You're waking up to something you've always known. This knowledge has never truly disappeared. It's been encoded in myths, echoed in dreams, and buried in the subconscious, waiting for the right vibration to unlock it. You don't read the Kybalion, it reads you. It's like a mirror that only reflects what you're ready to see. And that's why it never lands the same way, twice. When you're asleep, it's a confusing book of old words. When you're half awake, it's a curious puzzle. But when you're truly ready, it feels like an ancient voice inside you whispering, "You've always known this, you just forgot." And maybe that's the real reason it was hidden, because it could only reveal itself when the world, when the soul, when you were ready. When the distractions became too loud to ignore, when the loops started to repeat too clearly, when the questions you've been carrying finally outweighed the fear of the answers. That's when the teachings return, not to show you something new, but to remind you of what you came here to remember. So the real question isn't why this law was hidden. The real question is, why is it showing itself to you now? What part of your life is finally soft enough, broken open enough, aware enough, to receive what it once rejected? What are you finally ready to reclaim? Everything vibrates, everything moves, nothing rests. That's not poetry, that's physics. And long before modern science confirmed it, the Kybalion declared it. The law of vibration is one of the most overlooked and yet most powerful Hermetic principles. It reveals that nothing in existence is truly fixed, not your emotions, not your thoughts, not even your so-called reality. Everything you have ever experienced, pain, joy, failure, love, carries a frequency, and that frequency can shift. You're not stuck, you're vibrating. Even when you feel numb or lost or frozen in place, you're still oscillating on a quantum level. The table you touch, the breath you take, the words you speak, everything is moving, everything is energy in motion. You are immersed in a sea of frequency, and your body, mind, and soul are instruments within that field. When you feel off around certain people or in certain places, that's not just a mood, that's a mismatch. Vibration recognizes vibration, and whether you know it or not, your life is always organizing itself around the frequency you are radiating. This law hits harder when you realize something most people never understand. You don't attract what you want, you attract what you are. What you're tuned to, what your nervous system is signaling beneath the surface. If your core frequency is built on fear, then fear-based experiences will find you. If scarcity is your dominant vibration, opportunities will seem scarce. The universe isn't punishing you, it's mirroring you with absolute precision. Reality doesn't respond to what you say, it responds to what you broadcast when no one is watching. That's why you can do all the right things, set goals, repeat affirmations, visualize success, and still feel stuck. Because it's not about what's on your vision board, it's about what lives in your nervous system, Your vibration isn't something you perform, it's something you embody. And embodiment doesn't come from pretending, it comes from alignment. Start to see your emotional states not as inconveniences, but as frequencies. Anger, grief, joy, gratitude. They all have their own resonance. You've felt it. Gratitude lifts you, grief pulls you inward, anxiety scrambles the signal. That's not poetic language. That's a vibrational signature being felt in real time. The beauty is that you're never locked into any of it. You can shift, not instantly, not perfectly, but intentionally. That's what the law of vibration gives you, the ability to recalibrate your own frequency and, in doing so, to reshape the field around you. This is why tools like meditation, breath work, sound healing, and even silence aren't just soothing, they're tuning forks. They help you drop beneath the surface noise and return to your base frequency. And once you become aware of that baseline, you can begin to shift it with intention. You become more deliberate about what you consume. Media, food, conversations, because everything either elevates or suppresses your state. There's no neutral. This law explains why certain music moves you, why some environments drain you, why some people light up a room and others compress it. It's all frequency. Some vibrations expand you, others shrink you. Most people never learn to recognize this. They live on autopilot, reacting to the energy of every room, every scroll, every voice, never realizing they're absorbing frequencies and radiating them back out without a filter. But when you understand this law, you stop reacting and start tuning. You stop saying, "I had a bad day," and start asking, "What frequency did I slip into?" You stop blaming your circumstances and start managing your state. You realize you're not just a participant, you're a broadcaster, and the world is responding to your signal. You don't raise your vibration by forcing positivity or denying reality. You raise it by choosing clarity, by letting go of what no longer resonates, by remembering that nothing is still, that you are never truly stuck, because even when you feel motionless, you're still vibrating. And now, you get to choose the frequency. Why are there times you feel unstable, while at others everything flows? There are phases of energy, clarity, and motivation, followed by periods of stagnation, doubt, and exhaustion. Many believe this means they're failing, but the truth is, it's part of the principle of rhythm. This law states that everything in existence moves like a pendulum, oscillating between opposites. Life isn't a straight line, it's a wave. Understanding this reduces anxiety when things get difficult, because rhythm isn't your enemy, but your guide. Every emotion, every state, has a frequency and a rhythm. You don't need to fear the low points. They aren't signs you're failing, but part of the cycle. The danger isn't in the descent. The danger is in forgetting that the descent is temporary. The Kybalion teaches that rhythm compensates. What swings to one extreme must eventually swing back. This is the structure. Your energy, confidence, and clarity all pulse. If you're unaware of that, you'll mistake natural contraction for collapse. You might think you're breaking down, when in truth you're just in the pause before the next rise. You can't control the rhythm, you can only ride it. Learn when to act and when to wait, when to speak and when to listen, when to push and when to rest. The law of rhythm gives you the awareness to stop overreacting to your temporary state. Just because you feel doubt doesn't mean you've lost your path. Just because energy dips doesn't mean your vision has disappeared. The dip is part of the design. It creates contrast, refines clarity, teaches timing. Start observing the rhythm in your life, in your body, in your relationships, in your creativity. Notice how your energy rises and falls like breath, like the tides, like the moon. There's a natural rhythm to everything, and when you align with it, life stops feeling like a fight. Most people, however, live in resistance. They try to stay up all the time. They treat stillness like failure. They chase peak states and call anything else weakness. But that's not mastery. That's burnout in disguise. Mastery is knowing how to recharge without guilt, how to rest without collapse, how to trust the rhythm even when the beat goes quiet. Because that quiet isn't the end. It's the inhale before the exhale, the space before the surge. You don't need to force your way through the low. You need to remember that it will swing, and in that remembering, you reclaim power. You begin to move like nature itself, fluid, adaptive, cyclical. Not because you're losing control, but because you're finally dancing with the laws. When you begin to align with the truth, at first it feels personal, like a quiet earthquake inside your chest. You start to notice the patterns in your own life, how thoughts become things, how cycles repeat, until you finally uncover the hidden cause. But then something else begins to shift. You start to see those same patterns in others. You watch them speak their fears into existence, see them beg for freedom while guarding their own cages, and that's when you realize that awakening isn't just about your life. It's about life itself. Every internal shift ripples outward. Every time you choose authenticity over approval, presence over performance, intention over impulse, you are contributing to a new frequency, one that challenges old structures, one that makes the system tremble. Because the system doesn't fear rebellion, it expects that. It knows how to crush a protest, rewrite a headline, distract the masses. What it fears is something far quieter: alignment, consciousness, coherence. People who live from the inside out and no longer need the system to define them. The matrix doesn't fall when one person wakes up. It falls when enough people stop feeding it, when enough people stop believing the stories of lack, fear, and separation, when enough people see the laws at work and instead of reacting to life, begin responding to it with presence and power. That's not ideology, that's frequency, and frequency moves faster than force. It's invisible, but it's contagious. That's how new worlds are born. You are not separate from that shift. You are part of it. Every time you bring awareness to a pattern, every time you choose to feel instead of flee, every time you speak the truth your conditioning taught you to swallow, you are not just healing yourself. You are reprogramming the field we all live in. Reality is not static. It's participatory, and your participation, once conscious, becomes revolutionary. That's why this work matters, because while the laws apply to everyone individually, they also apply collectively. The more people wake up, the more the vibration of the collective rises. The more we live by law instead of illusion, the more we move from reaction to creation. And that shift is already happening, quietly, globally, through people like you who are choosing to live with eyes open. Collective awakening isn't just an idea. It's an inevitability. The laws are already in motion. The veil is already thinning. You can feel it. People are questioning things they once obeyed, searching for meaning beyond algorithms and manufactured dreams. They're tired of being told who to be, and they're beginning to remember what they are: creators, mirrors, frequencies within a living, intelligent field. And the more of us that remember, the more impossible it becomes to maintain the illusion. That's what scares the system most. Not violence, but vision. Not noise, but knowing. Because the moment enough people stop asking for permission to be themselves, The moment enough of us stop seeking truth and start embodying it, the architecture of control collapses. So no, this isn't just about your life. It's about the collective life, the shared dream we're here to rewrite. Your awakening is not an escape from the world. It's your initiation into a new one built on truth, one built on law, one built on conscious alignment with the all. You're not too small to matter. You're not too late to help. You are right on time. You didn't stumble across this message by chance. After everything we've explored together, you now understand why. The universe doesn't deal in accidents. It deals in alignment, in law, in exact echoes of inner states. If you made it this far, it means something deeper in you has shifted, something subtle but undeniable. You're no longer looking at life the same way. You're starting to feel it as a mirror, as a message, as a living feedback loop that responds not to your effort, but to your essence. The Kybalion isn't just a book, it's a portal. And the moment you opened yourself to its truths, the moment you let its frequency reach into your awareness, you crossed a line between sleep and waking, between waiting and remembering. These hermetic laws aren't ideas to believe. They are truths to live. And the more you live them, the more you discover something that defies every limitation you were taught to accept. That reality isn't something happening to you. It's something happening through you. But this path isn't about becoming someone new. It's about returning to what you already are underneath the noise, the self that exists before programming, before performance, before fear. That self has always known these laws. It's why you felt certain things weren't right, even when everyone else agreed. It's why you've always suspected there was something deeper going on beneath the surface. And now, you're beginning to see it clearly. The world will continue to push scripts. It will continue to sell you roles, identities, distractions. But now you know better. Now you know that real transformation doesn't come from escaping your life. It comes from recalibrating it, from shifting your frequency, from aligning with the laws that shape the very foundation of existence. That's not magic. That's mastery, and it's available to you now. So the question becomes, what are you choosing to vibrate into form? What thoughts will you nourish? What emotions will you honor? What internal broadcast will you allow to shape your external experience? Because you're not powerless. You never were. You were just disconnected from the source code, and now you're plugged back in. This is where the real journey begins. Not in theories, not in concepts, but in how you walk, speak, think, and breathe from this moment forward. The Kybalion gave you the keys, the laws gave you the framework. Now you give them life through presence, through practice, through choosing alignment over autopilot, clarity over chaos. And if you felt something stir inside you while listening to this, if part of you feels like this wasn't just information but a remembering, then don't stop here. The deeper layers can't be spoken out loud. They have to be shared where truth is protected. To continue your exploration into profound esoteric knowledge, subscribe to Esoteric philosophy, leave a message or a like, and unlock further insights into these universal laws.